Yeah, I had to get around to this one eventually. There was so much buzz around it, so here I am reviewing it now. Be happy, okay? I'm doing it. Welcome back to Y.E.S everyone. Today we're going to talk about Women in Music Part 3, the third studio album released by HAIM. I remember pretty well when this album came out. A lot of people were talking about it, and I felt like, okay, I think I'll get into that one. And then I eventually did, and then I kind of put off listening to it again. I remember enjoying it the first time. To be honest, there's a lot about this album that I can totally understand and justify why people are so into the album. I am also one of those people, but probably on the lower spectrum, and I'm still trying to figure out why. This is indeed a very well-made album. It is 16 tracks long. Oh my goodness, so much that could be done in this album, and I am impressed with it. I can understand it kind of has kind of an old school feeling to it, but also it feels like this is meant for now as we're kind of looking for throwbacks, but also trying to discover something new. And as far as the throwback styles go, it reminds me a lot of Dixie Chicks, Janet Jackson a little bit actually, Norah Jones, and then if we're talking maybe a little bit of new school to a degree, I would say I'm also reminded a little bit of Soccer Mommy, who I reviewed earlier this year. All fantastic voices to compare to, and all have some pretty strong style to them. Besides being able to definitely articulate the strengths that each one of those have, I also can recognize how pretty different they all are. And while that fusion comes together for something really pretty interesting, it's also endearing and charming for the sound that they are going for in this album. And I think really what my issues are just nitpicks. But because it is 16 tracks, the more songs you have in an album, the more opportunities you also have to see if there are maybe holes or personal preferences that are going to work or maybe not work as well for certain listeners. And for me, I just had moments. And the reason I'm just saying this is just because, since it's slightly longer than most of the albums that I listen to, I found a couple of things where I'm like, that's just little nitpicks here, so I'm just saying, yeah, I had nitpicks. That's really all I'm trying to say. Beyond that, great album. Let's talk about those highlights now. First song, Los Angeles, I can really admire for the baritone saxophone that is played in here. Oh, it's just a good plus, and I love the old-fashioned production that is included in here as well. The song Steps also kind of goes for that old-fashioned style production. The song 3 a.m., this is the first song where I was like, okay, they're on to something now. And this is the one where I feel like it was leaning toward more of the Janet Jackson vibe for some reason. Right after that, the song Don't Wanna. If you haven't listened to this album, these two songs back to back, yeah, really good combo. The song Leaning on You has one small hole that I just kind of don't care for, but it has a great instrumentation bridge in there. And that's something that they hint at. Some of them are actually bridges, and some of them are just, moments where the instrumentations are going to get moments to shine. And I like when artists do that. They don't have to do that for the whole album, obviously. But sporadically and at the right moments, good points right there. On the opposite side of the spectrum, the song F.U.B.T. The instrumentation is actually great, but I am not actually caring for the bridge so much on this song. Closing this album, the song Hallelujah. Ooh, yeah, man. Been that way since 95. And the last song, Summer Girl, which has a tenor saxophone in here, if I'm not mistaken. Kind of just adds what I would call the normalities of what you would get from living in a big city life kind of perspective. So with having said all those positives, I'm just kind of cautious in not overrating or overhyping this album. I see plenty of reason why other people might. I just might have some nitpicks that are of my personal taste and maybe very few others, but they wouldn't diminish this album very much at all as far as my recommendation is going to go. But there's things that I'm just going to have to recognize, and they will be shared here. But I will share the pleasantness of actually liking the album. It definitely feels like they are not going to be caged into a specific sound or from the trends that we are experiencing this year and for the last few years that I've experienced recently. I think that they have an idea and they move forward with it. And I think that sound works really well and it feels fresh despite kind of feeling like a throwback at the same time. So, after having listened and reviewed this album, I'm going to give production a B+, creativity a B, expression and lyrics a B+, and how would I recommend this album? I'd give it a yeah. This definitely was one that I had to, kind of take in and experience a little bit more. But I'm happy to say that I do enjoy this album. I just feel like maybe some others really loved this album. And good for you. Really, really good for you. I'm like, yeah, I can still recommend it. It is good. I do recognize that. As always, guys, thank you so much for watching. Be sure to follow me in my social media links down in the description below, and be sure to leave a like for the video as well as a comment if you want to engage with me. And remember, if you want to discover, promote, and review the best in entertainment, be sure to subscribe to this channel so you can get that yes in your life. See you next time.